I feel like adapting anything into something else, whether it's a sub into a dub or something like a book into a movie, should aim to improve on the source and make it work in the new format. If a show is from the 2000s, there are going to have to be things are going to have to be updated to make sense for a new audience. Fixing transphobia and adding little references to internet stuff kind of makes sense when having a show set in the ambiguous 2007, 2017-ish probably era. Things change and sometimes old media becomes unwatchable because it's horrible in retrospect. I hope old fans see this and can laugh at a show as well as I hope old fans see this and can laugh at a show as well as how they've changed. You, you get it. This is also a great opportunity to add new jokes. For example, in the clips above, you can see Heikichi and Nobuko talking about cooking sweets. Heikichi suggests using ube as a flavoring agent, which Nobuko says will probably be really popular in about 10 years. This joke assumes Lovecom is taking place in the world of 2007 and only makes sense because the dub came out so much later. There's also that bit where Risa says for the win. Originally, the joke is her saying for the win 3 times, louder each time, and then Otani tells her to calm down. Obviously, the phrase for the win is insanely outdated, so we decided to tweak the joke a bit. In this version, Otani asks for a more contemporary compliment. Risa compliments him 3 times with 3 pieces of slang that are immediately dated, but dated in different decades. For the win is 2000s, epic is late 2000s, and early 2010s and early 2010s. And poggers, while being contemporary, is really dated and will probably fall out of popular use soon. If someone watches this in 2030, it'll be a nice slice of pop culture across 2 whole decades between the original release and the dub. I think that's neat. Was there ever any pushback in terms of accurately portraying the characters? Like, were you beholden to anyone to retain the integrity of Lovely Complex, or was it more of a, oh yes, please excise as much transphobia as you can from this? Thank you. The discotheque guys mostly let Lenti do what she wanted. It helps that most of the accurate character portrayal in the sub is comprised of weird, inconsistent character tics that never amount to anything. Take Nobuko's anti-trans radar, for example. That comes up maybe 3 times. She seemingly hates Seiko for no reason, never explains why, and then Seiko walks up to her and says, "Nice bracelet." After that, Nobuko decides to be friends with her. The original character trait never amounted to anything, never made sense, never came up again, and wasn't funny in the first place. So changing it to an equally baffling, I hate my fashion rival, oh, never mind, I like her now because she complimented my bracelet is just a lateral move, really. Another change we made is the bet Otani and Risa make in early episodes. In early episodes, the main plot centers around the two of them trying to get a boy slash girlfriend for the other. This bet is the driving force behind episodes 2 and 3. This bet is the driving force behind episodes 2 and 3, I believe. But after that, the plot thread is dropped entirely, even though nobody won. We added a few more mentions of that bet several episodes later, and had them refer back to it to make the story flow a little more smoothly. Of note, anime distributors do tend to ask that you don't advertise changes like making things less transphobic. This is because large swaths of the anime community are racist, sexist, transphobic, etc., and will descend upon a company's social media page for weeks for the strangest things. Discotech added a content warning on one of their discs and got flack for that. So they're understandably a little skittish now. Funny Crunchy works like this too. TLDR. Most anime distributors don't care if you make things nicer or more gay or added more race or add more representation. They just ask that you don't flaunt the changes or use buzzwords. You're genuinely you're genuinely not allowed to say hot button words like sexism or patriarchy anymore in most funny dubs unless it's already in the subtitles because those are words that brain dead weebs get mad about and share on their various image boards. However, you can change that change you can you however, you can say things like chauvinist because that isn't on the buzzword list. You just need to use words they aren't pre-programmed to hate. The people who get mad about this doesn't the people who get mad about this don't actually have thoughts about these things or know why they hate them. They've just been told to hate specific words because those are the SJW words. It's very embarrassing. LMAO. So, I have to ask because I'm curious. What kind of conflicting thoughts, if any, do you have about making the show better? Because, like you said, old LC fans will come in and be tricked. But on the off chance the dub hits like crazy, it might make new LC fans. As may as maybe the most critical person I've ever seen in my entire life, how does the fact that there's a chance that you've courted people through this series make you feel? Also, I wonder how long it'll take for all the it's not true to the original fuckers to come out of the woodwork to be like, woke translators are ruining my anime. See, the thing is, we didn't change the intent of any of the scenes. Even the original Seiko stuff was, in the end, supposed to be pro trans. It was just terribly done 2007 pro trans writing. I'd say the biggest thing we changed. He says it twice, I don't know why, is a number of scenes where Risa is upset at Otani. We did our best to tweak it so she often addresses something specific he does that she dislikes, like him not being explicit with a rejection and stringing her along. Sometimes she's even upset and realizes mid conversation a lot of her frustration is coming from her own actions or inability to communicate. These nuances are not in the original sub, even a little bit, but without them, you are literally just watching the same episode where Risa confesses to Owatani, then runs away before getting an answer 9 times in a row. It's exhausting. It's boring. In our version, you at least get some semblance of character growth. A good example of a change like this is after Kazuki assaults Risa. Who is Kazuki? In the sub, Otani is just pissed at Risa for getting assaulted. But that's insane. So instead, a good example of a change like this is after Kazuki assaults Risa. In the sub, Otani is just pissed at Risa for getting assaulted. But that's insane. So instead, we changed it so Otani's initial anger at seemingly being cheated on changes to frustration at Risa for being so blasé about being assaulted. She does not care at all, and in fact, never talks to Kazuki about this in either the dub or the sub. I realized that if my partner had been taken advantage of, there was a real chance I would be mad for them, especially if they were taking it really well. So that's how Otani's anger manifests. The trick is to change the intention of the characters to something that makes sense for them while also keeping the intention of the overall story. As for the not true to the original fuckers, I don't care what they think. Idiots who assume all dubs are bad and all subs are good, or vice versa, don't actually have any analytical skills, and their opinion simply does not matter. They've decided they're going to hate our work no matter what. We actually already saw a post from some dumbass praising the original subtitles from episode 1 when it says, big or small, if you've got a dick, you're a man, right? Because he read that as anti trans and was happy the localization team didn't Dragon Maid the line, which refers to the Dragon Maid dub giving Glukoa funny lines about dressing how she wants despite the patriarchy. Lots of sweaty racist nerd boys got mad about that one because they didn't want woke politics in their titty show. Even though that dialogue was literally the character going, "Here's why I like to dress with my tits out." Very, very funny. The person praised anti trans rhetoric in one of the most famous examples of early trans rip in anime, with the most trans dub of all time. Whoops, Dummy should have watched the rest of the show first before showing his whole ass. You were perfect, Emma. Thank you. So, if you couldn't guess, I'm the creator. You may refer to me as such or as DJ. Doesn't matter which. Now, to start off, let me say that I'm not one of those "you just don't get the show" type of guys. No, 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 no. That is not this type of situation. For one, he did not get the show. And two, Blabber lied. There's a lot in the diatribe, as I call it, a lot of details that he gets wrong, a lot of details that he lies about, and a lot of things that are just completely opinionated. For saying so much that he improved the show, he really did not understand what the show was about, what the purpose of each character was, what their story arc. And on that note, in this so called diatribe, like I said, as I call it, he leaves so many story elements out. He didn't talk once about Otani's ex girlfriend, and she shows up in episode 2. That's one of the things. So, let me tell you, it's like the guy didn't even watch the show. And for many of his improvements, let me say one thing. Hold on, I gotta read my notes. What did I say? Oh, yeah, he didn't change much. All of their improvements didn't really change much for a dub that still follows the story and still has the characters exactly the way they should be. But all of that is for another video. Speaking of other videos, let's talk about the different points that I'll talk about in other videos. Starting off with the story, plot, and episodes. That will all be one video. Next one coming up is character videos. I don't know whether I'm going to have just a whole entire characters video or multiple videos on different characters. It depends on how long it takes. After that, there's discotheque and sound cadence. Then there's Blabber's opinions and his comments. And then lastly, I'll be reviewing the dub. That's the last thing I gotta do because I gotta watch over that entire dub. Ugh. And along the way, I'll be sprinkling in some of my own comments about certain things. So yeah, there's that. Also, this is not the actual order these will come out with. I'll probably do the discotheque and sound cadence stuff first, because that'll be a quick and easy. That'll be a quick, easy, cheap, and dirty thing. Yeah. So why am I doing this? Well, there was a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of the articles I saw were just copying each other, saying how it was like because of transphobic reason. Nobody actually going in and looking at the show and actually, proving his lies. And why else? Because I like Lovely Complex. I like Lovely Complex. I was watching it on Crunchyroll before this whole mess happened. And for him to come in, and I said, I just saw nobody was coming out. Nobody went and watched the show, analyzed it, and proved him wrong. Everybody took his word for it. But the thing is, he's lying. Speaking of misinformation, 2 videos out there, but I'll talk about those at a later date. Blabber's diatribe describes not writing a dub, it describes a rewrite, or like creating an abridged series. And on that note, Discotheque's response to the whole thing was terrible. They would have done a lot better if they just posted clips of the dub because what their response to it really actually reinforced what he said when in actuality he's lying. So along with having this piss poor response in Blabber's diatribe, people have been getting the wrong opinion about the whole thing, and a lot of people who haven't seen the show or watched the dub have been creating definitely the entirely wrong opinion. And it's just been a whole mess. So I decided, hey, I like the show and I've watched it a number of times. I've watched the sub about 3 different damn times. I own the dub. And if you want my opinion of the dub, it's like It's like Scooby-Doo and the 13th Ghost. It is completely unnecessary and did not need to be. It's if you wanna give me my early rating of it, it's very subpar. This dub is nowhere as great as he hyped it up to be. There are many problems. The script writing in it is not good, for that matter. It is not as good. The only thing that saves it is that they follow the story, and the voice acting is also annoying. Howard Wang, the voice of Otani, is not as lively as he should be. Amber Lee Connors is not as lively either, and she also sounds like a 30-year-old woman sometimes. I will go into that when I actually review the dub. It it trust me, besides line changes, which don't really matter that much to me, because a lot of them were just added in jokes, the serious moments are still there. That's the main thing I worried about when I first read Blabber's diatribe was I was worried about the what changes would be made to the serious moments, the moments that made me grow closer to the characters. Those are fine. Those are all intact. Those are all intact, and I'm not worried about them at all. They have done nothing. They have changed nothing. They have played the line. They have run the line and played it straight. This is they keep the characters the same way, and its story is intact. They ain't done nothing. The script writing, let me tell you something, is subpar. The jokes, some of them get a laugh out of me because of the delivery. That's not all the time though. Honestly, this is very subpar. It is not a 7 out of 10 maker. You can't have a 3 out of 10 show, give it a dub, and then suddenly it becomes a 7 out of 10. You can't do that by giving it a dub. No, you have to do the only way to do that is by rerunning stuff. And let me tell you something, this is not in the bridge series, and this is not a rewrite, and this ain't a rewrite. They play a story too straight, but the script still ain't that great. So for those who think that the show has been ruined, it hasn't. The problem is that the dub is not great. It's just okay. If you can get past the voices, it's meh. But again, I have more thoughts about that I'll go into when I actually review the dub. So, also, I'm aware of there being screenshots online about this show, and I know who put them out, and they're one of the two videos that I talked about before. The screenshots I checked, that person's not a good person you need to listen to, as they only brought out screenshots. They didn't even do screenshots for episodes 1 and 2. They only did it for 3, 4, and 5. Now, 4 and 5 I'll get into when I talk about the episodes, but there is a reason why they did those episodes. I do not believe this person has ever really seen the show. I do, as they don't fully understand the character that they're talking about. They say that they're transing the character. However, the character themselves actually has a reason for why they are like that and why everybody truly assumes that. There's actual evidence to that, and I go into that when I talk about the characters. Yeah. Also, I looked at a lot of the screenshots. Besides the certain stuff in episode 5, they ain't changed much. It's just a bunch of new jokes that they added in, and none of the jokes are really that great when you really look at them. Again, it's a delivery that actually makes them laugh, that actually makes them funny for me sometimes. Not all of them are winners, but again, there are more serious moments in the show, and let me tell you, those certain moments are still intact. So, no, this show is not ruined. On that note, screenshots don't really give you full context for a scene. So, if you haven't really seen the show, you won't even know the context. You'll just be angry that they changed the line, but you don't even know the full context of the actual scene. It does. Again, that's something I need to get into at a later date. Anyway, actually, I think that's all my points. Talk about screenshots, this, that, understand this. There's one thing on the back of this paper here. Blabber's not saying the quiet part out loud, he's just lying, which is something you really need to take from it if you have difficulty thinking whether or not localization is good or not. That's a whole another thing that I need to get into at a later point, but let me say this again. He's not saying the quiet part out loud, he's just lying. Anyway, what else? Oh yeah, I'm a Tokusatsu fan, and now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
じーっとしててもどうにもならねえ。 You go!